Welcome to a day in the life of a death doula with myself, Mandy Benwaleed, and Jill Schock. So, really, how does one become a death doula?
Look at your why picture again. Some of you are coming from professional spaces that have already trained you in some skills that you might need for this work. There are many people who come out of event planning, funeral directing, clinical work, financial planning, all kinds, grief backgrounds, all kinds of stuff. It doesn't really matter where you come from, but having your big why. Um, you have a lot of choices out there about education, training, and potentially certification. So just do your research and see which program fits you and your goals and your needs. I would definitely encourage people to do their research on learning how to do a small business startup. Because if you're going to work for yourself, you're going to be happy. Like, you can design your business however you want it to be, but you should have that goal, that seed planted before you start your education so you can continue to level up and level up. So choose your educational program if you think you need it. And you can go from there.
But the reality is that there's no governing body for being a doula. It's not like
That's
being
correct.
like a hospice worker or like a social worker
That
or
is
a
correct.
chaplain.
That's correct.
Yeah. So it's really something that folks can choose to do to introduce themselves to the field and to learn a bit more. And, just like your mentorship program. And I know other doulas are offering similar programs, which is great to, be able to have that one-on-one time. But at the end of the
Yeah,
day, the certifications and the education is really for you.
exactly. Yeah. It's what you need to feel confident to get the skills to start working. I've always been, because I was trained in the medical model of see one, do one, teach one. So I, with my mentees, I kind of do that and like push them out of the nest pretty quickly because I want them to start getting clients and practicing. And you and I talked about this, but you should also ask yourself when you like ask the why of do I want to become a death doula? Do I want to run my own business, or do I want to do this kind of like part time? All of that's acceptable, but you should figure that out before you start. Make plans and goals, use business resources. I know different cities have free business mentorship programs. Maybe invest in a business coach, get someone to help you with your financial planning so you can set up your health insurance and your retirement plan. So there's a lot to be done, but also you can just do it part-time, or if you just want to help, you can volunteer for hospice.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point. I personally took one business class in university to make my parents happy, to say I'll, try doing business. And I still remember the first day of that business course, the professor asked who in this room would like to become an entrepreneur and run their own business. And I think every single person in the room raised their hand but me. And I was like, absolutely not. I saw just growing up seeing my father has been an entrepreneur and has run his own business for a long time, never has time for anything. And here I am now running two businesses, and I had no idea I would be doing that. And I'm making it work, but I would say try it, but definitely don't underplay the business part, because if you do want to become a full-time death doula, it's your income, right?
It
And
is.
I know that it's like an unpopular opinion, I think, that people talking about being a death doula is a business, and a lot of people, I don't think anyone really talks about it that much, and I'm glad that you're bringing this to light, because we all need to realize that it is something you can make a living off of, but you just have to plan, just like any other business would.
That's right. And that's how I've been successful, is that I have invested time and money into learning business and money. Um, so yeah, I knew I had all the skills, to do the work, but I had to figure out how to make money. So yeah, you really got to invest time in that.
Well, so there's actually one question that people have been asking that I wanted to ask you, because I think it's really important, which is, obviously you have to train, you have to get your business up and running, but how do you actually start getting clients? How do you make your services known?
Well, you need to start making relationships with hospices and funeral homes because they're your right and left hand. You want to link arms. So you want them to know that you're around. A lot of people start out kind of working with their friends and family to just kind of get a flavor of it. Um, I get referrals from clinicians because I've worked in this area for so long. So all the nurses and stuff that I used to work with know me and they know what I do and they'll call me. Palliative care doctors, I've already said hospice teams, religious leaders, colleagues. If you have a specialty like Alzheimer's, medical aid in dying, cancer, that might help. Word of mouth. I also use SEO and I have a very I had a creative director brand me. So I have a brand and I use search engine optimization words to try and imagine what people are Googling at 2 in the morning who might be trying to find my services. I offer free educational seminars to my local community so they can come and meet me and remember me. Most of the time, I will get a few bites from doing those. And I've already said this, but I just make as many friends as possible, particularly with funeral directors and hospice.
Okay, amazing.
Hmm.
And so I thought, let's start jumping into the questions. And one that I think follows really well, and I'm sure many people are wondering this, especially because you have experience working in hospice. Um, how would you differentiate between what a death doula does and the services that are offered by hospice, including social workers, volunteers? And thank you to all of those of you, by the way, that are asking these questions. They're amazing. I'm like trying to go through them as fast as possible.
Yeah, this is awesome. So hospice, if you want to imagine it, there's a circle of care, right? So you have your medical director, your attending physician, your RN case manager, your LVN auxiliary nurse. You have someone who's doing bathing aid, and then you have psychosocial spiritual. So you have access to a social worker and a chaplain and volunteer services. So that's the whole circle of care with hospice. And how that works is the patient gets paid. The patient is worth X amount of money per day, depending on their condition, and that money comes from Medicare. So everyone who sees that patient in the hospice circle of care gets paid through their bank. I think the biggest difference is that doulas are an auxiliary of that care and they work directly for the patient. They get paid by the patient. And so that's a direct advocacy relationship that you want to build. And we can show up more than hospice because hospice, they have regulations on how many visits they can do because again they're working with Medicare's bank, and so billing and their time is actually very limited. So even though they do amazing work, it's great to have someone on the outside to be helping and just be communicating and always like being more involved with the client.